Hey, welcome to today's video. I have an unhaul for you guys. I went through my shelves a couple weeks ago and came up with quite a bit of books. I think I have 24 books that I just don't want anymore. I am someone who likes to just collect books whether or not I like them, but I think I'm at the point now where there's just so many books that I have on my physical TBR that I still need to read that are going to go on my shelves, or books that I still want to pick up and purchase. And then those will eventually go on my shelves. So I do need to just get rid of books that I don't care about anymore. This pile right here is from my last unhaul. These books are the first time I've ever done an unhaul because I've always just kept my books because I like the look of them on my shelves, and I haven't gotten rid of a single one yet. So just ignore that fact. But yeah, I just went through my shelves. I have 24 books. These are books that I read and have no idea what the plot even is. I could not tell you a single thing about the book. Other books maybe I read recently, gave them 1 or 2 stars and I just don't care for anymore. Or books that were on my TBR that I just know I'll never get to. First up, I have The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. This is a YA. That's all I remember from this book. I think it's kind of like magical realism, but it's about just being an ordinary person and not being the chosen one that you read about in most books. I don't remember a single thing that happened in this one. I don't even remember what I rated it, so I'm just gonna say goodbye to this and we'll just start another little pile over here. Who knows how long I'll keep these books for. Alright, next I have Girls in the Moon by Janet McNally. This is also a YA. I know this one's about 2 sisters. I think it has to do with being in a band or coming from a family. I think their mom was a rock star and then their dad might have been someone like famous too. The 2 sisters are a little different than each other. I think one is in a band and then one's like a poet or something. I just didn't care for this book when I read it. No reason to keep it. And then I have See All the Stars by Kit Frick. That's such an interesting name, I'm not gonna lie. The top is very yellow compared to like the side of this book. I don't remember anything about this one. This is also a YA. It says, then they were 4, so we have 4 friends who were really close together, and then it says now Ellery is all alone. Her friends got torn apart. There's like a little bit of a romance. And it says now she returns to her school to navigate senior year after a 2-month suspension. But see, even reading the back of the book, it's not bringing anything up. I don't remember what I rated this. Probably like a 1 or 2 star. This is another one. I think I kind of remember what this one was about. This is Where the World Ends by Amy Zhang. Another YA. I guess I'm just getting rid of a whole bunch of YAs. Oh yeah, so these 2, okay. This one was about 2 best friends, Janie and Micah, and they're like completely opposites of each other, and then she goes missing and then Micah's trying to find where she is and what happened. I like faintly remember this one, but not too much. But yeah, I think most of these I picked up from Book Outlet, which is, they have super cheap books on that website, so I would usually just scroll through as many pages as I can and just pick out books that seemed interesting to me, and then I just get them for cheap and read them, but a lot of them I just really don't remember. Next up I have The Disenchantments by Nina LaCour. I remember reading this in like 2 hours. This was the fastest book I have ever read. This is about a band, and these 4 people, I think they're just on a tour. We have our main character Colby and then Bev. So Bev is the girl, she's in an all-girl band and she's about to go on tour, and then Colby, I guess they had plans together to do things, but she's going on this tour, so she kind of just like abandons Colby. I don't really know if this is technically a romance. I think this might be YA too. It is. Anytime I need to know if it's a YA, I could look at the publisher, but I just look at the price because YAs are $10 cheaper than a regular book, which is insane. Next up, we're getting into a 1-star read from me. I was actually really sad about this. This book is so pretty and I would love to have it on my shelves, but I just really dislike this book, so I don't want to keep it. But this is My Dark Romeo. It's by Parker S. Huntington and LJ Shen. I just did not like these 2 main characters at all. So this is kind of like a Romeo and Juliet retelling. Our main characters are super toxic, especially the girls. She was just doing things that I cannot forgive her for, so I didn't care for them, didn't care for their romance. I didn't really view this as a romance because they just weren't good people at all, so it was hard to root for them. Next I have Underneath the Sycamore Tree by B. Celeste. This is like a step-sibling romance, which I didn't know going into that. Well, I didn't know before I bought the book. I'm not a fan of that, so obviously I didn't like the book because of that reason. But I also just think the guy character in this was very mean to her. He did not treat her well at all. He was saying mean things to her about like her body and everything. So this was one of those romances that I just couldn't root for and I just didn't care for at all. Next I have A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. This is the first book in a series, I believe. I know there's like A Touch of Malice, A Touch of Ruin. I don't know if they're all different Greek retellings, but this one is based off Hades and Persephone. This is a modern day Greek retelling, so we're dealing with Hades. He has this nightclub, and then Persephone, she doesn't want anybody to know that she's a Greek goddess, so she's kind of going undercover and living her college life like a normal human. It's Hades and Persephone, so she's just drawn to Hades, and he can kind of grant a wish, but it's like very sketchy. You know, there's something that like you have to give up in order for him to do what you want to do. She does end up going through with that, and then it just is their romance. But I didn't care for this one. I didn't really like the writing in this. I just didn't like the romance in this one either. Most of the romance books that I'm going to be getting rid of in here, the reason that I'm getting rid of them is because I didn't like the romance between the two characters, which if I'm reading a romance, I want to like that, of course. So that's pretty much the main reason why I'm getting rid of some of these romance books. This one is also a romance. This is Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino. I read this one recently, I think maybe in November. I was excited for this because this is kind of like a past-present timeline. You get their whole backstory and how they connected at first, and then you get them now. They were split apart for, I want to say like 15 years maybe, but they met in college and they grew a connection in college. But even then, I didn't really feel the connection between them in college. I think their relationship and their friendship then was pretty toxic, and then they come back as adults and they reconnect. There was something else that happened in this book with another character that threw me off a lot, and it made me not like the book more than I already wasn't enjoying it. I had high hopes for this one because a lot of people were saying good things about it, but it just wasn't for me. Then we have Leave the World Behind. I read this one recently too. This was a 1-star read for me. It's kind of like a mystery thriller. I think it was written during COVID times. I don't know if that was written because of everything going on in the world in 2020. It was just really weird, and I didn't see the message behind this story. It ended in a very weird spot too. It just like abruptly ended and there was no explanation for anything. Some endings, when that happens, it's like, okay, I understand why it ended that way, but this one I didn't get it at all, and it started off really good. I liked the writing at the beginning, but it ended up getting very, very descriptive, and the writing was going on too long at some points. I think there was like a whole entire page of what they bought at the grocery store, so I quickly lost interest in this one, and I thought it was going to be such a different story from what I read. I was like going into it as a mystery because there's this couple that shows up at their house that they're staying at on vacation, and I thought it was going to be like almost like a murder mystery type thing, but it wasn't. It was just an end of the world kind of mystery. It was kind of really dramatic. I don't know, it was really weird. Then we have The Petting Zoo by Jim Carroll. I have a reading vlog on this one, but I did give this a 1-star. This is about an artist who we're kind of just following his life, and he's kind of having like a mental breakdown. He's in the Museum of Modern Arts, and he's looking at this other painting by someone, and it just does something to his brain, and then he runs outside, and it's kind of just like chaos. He ends up in the mental hospital. After that, you kind of just get his time there, and then it does go back to his past, and you get random moments from his past, but it's kind of overly descriptive too, and I just couldn't really stay connected to the story or to the character. I didn't find a connection to the character, and since this is about his whole entire life, it was hard for me to enjoy this. So that's that. I don't know what to say after I talk about these books. It's so weird. How do I transition into the next one, you know? I don't know. I'm just rolling with what I'm rolling with, alright? Exit Here by Jason Myers. This is there's no way this is a young adult book. Are you kidding me? Teen? I don't think so. I swear this dude was in college and he comes back. Okay, this is weird. I don't think this is a teen book at all, because it's like very adult topics in this one. Our main character, he is back from school and he's dealing with just everything pretty much. And I think this was just about kind of coming back and realizing that that isn't where you want to be and you want to be somewhere else in your life. I remember going into, I think it was the Books A Million. Very sad that that bookstore isn't there anymore because it was very close to me and I really liked going there. It was one of those moments where you just walk into a bookstore and want to find a book that you've never heard of before. So I did pick this one up because I was intrigued by it, but I did not like this one at all. It was kind of all over the place from what I remember. And that's, I don't know, that's all I can really say about it. The main character just had no improvement with himself. I think I wanted it to be a story that you read where you go back to somewhere and you have that improvement and you realize, I want to be somewhere else, I want to improve myself, which I think essentially is what it was trying to give off, but I just didn't get those feelings from it. Next up I have A Wicked Magic by Sasha Lawrence. I was gonna say I have a reading vlog on this one too, but I don't. I deleted that video. Oops. Anyway, this one's also a YA. This one's also kind of magical realism. So are they sisters? They are sisters. I know they kind of separated and they don't really talk to each other anymore. And then the one girl has like this best friend and he goes missing. And then she discovers like this magic that she has with herself. So then her and a few other people are kind of grouping up I don't like the way I said that. Teaming up. Grouping up sounds really weird, but it makes sense. Okay, whatever. So they're teaming up to try to find Johnny and figure out what happened. Like some creature type thing took him, I believe. I was excited for this book, but there really wasn't magic in this at all. It was like a very weird magic that just lacked, I don't know, I just wasn't a fan. And I think like the fact of the character going missing and then them like trying to find it and find out what happened, I was excited for it, but there wasn't any depth to the magic. There wasn't any depth to the story or the plot. It was just kind of very surface level, in my opinion. I definitely wanted more out of this book and I just didn't get that. This cover is beautiful though. I love the purple, I love the cat, but I'm still going to say goodbye. Okie dokie. Then I have The Path of Thorns by A.G. Slatter. This was going to be my first read in December last year, but I ended up DNFing this. This is a fantasy. The main character, I guess she has like a lot of secrets with her magic and stuff. I think I was about 100 and some pages in, and at that point we weren't really getting the magic from her. The whole magic system kind of wasn't there yet, and I was just too bored at that point with the story to continue on, so I did end up DNFing this one, and I just don't have an intention to pick it up and try again. Credence by Penelope Douglas. I read this one last year. Do you consider this a dark romance? I don't know. I don't really know like the exact terms of a dark romance, I guess, because when I think of dark romance, I'm like violence 100% of the time. But this is like, this was messed up, and there was a lot of things that were very bad about the romance in this, so I don't know if you would consider it a dark romance. I know a lot of people like this book. I picked it up because I saw a lot of recommendations for this one. This is one of those things where it's just not for me. The plot's not for me. The romance is definitely not for me. It's basically about this girl who doesn't really have any other family besides her parents, and her parents never really paid attention to her at all, so she felt really alone. And in the very beginning of the book, her parents ended up dying in the middle of the night, so she's really left alone. But then she has an uncle that's not really blood related to her. I don't want to say not really. He's not blood related to her. He's like the only type of parental figure that she has. She's 17, she's almost 18. So then she goes to live with him and his two sons in the middle of nowhere in Colorado. They're like up way out of town. They get snowed in for the winter, and then it's just a relationship with all four of them. But there's just some things in this book that I don't want to read about. Not my cup of tea, but it could be your cup of tea. This is another one I'm sad about. It's Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. This is crazy hyped up, and I thought I was gonna fall in love with this book. I was expecting this one to be a 5 stars, and it was a 1 star. I just didn't find anything that I liked in this book. Wasn't a fan of the writing, wasn't a fan of the story. I hate like saying things that I don't like about a book because I don't want to be negative about it, but it's also like, would I recommend these books? No. Is that unfortunate? Yes. But it happens. Not everybody can love a book, and I did not love this one. And I really wanted to, because everybody loves the dude in this book and everybody loves the story, but I just didn't, and that's that. Why is this kind of pretty? I can't look at it. I'm not keeping these books. I need to get rid of them. Next I have Kalti by Mariana Zapata. I was gonna keep this one because I have other books by her that I am keeping, and I just would like to keep this book because I have books by the same author. Because most of these, I don't think I have. I think these are just like one. Can I talk? Holy crap. What am I trying to say? I think I have like, oh my god. The authors of these, I think these are the only... The authors of these, I think these are the only books that I have by them. I don't have any other ones. Thank goodness. There we go. So I do have more books by her, and I wanted to keep it, but I really just didn't like this book. This one is a soccer romance. Slow burn. I love the slow burn, but I did not like the characters in this one. Listen, I don't know. I don't even want to talk about it. I love the feel of it. It's like that soft cover. Why am I trying to convince myself to keep this one? I didn't like the book, so I should get rid of it, but it's nice to look at. Nope, it's gonna go. It's gonna go. Next up, The Brilliant Light of Amber Sunrise by Matthew Crow. This is a YA. I believe this girl is in the hospital. Oh yes, okay, so our main character Francis, he's diagnosed with leukemia, so he's in the hospital. And then he becomes like really close with this other girl that's staying in the hospital too. This is a sad book, so just be warned if you do want to read this one. I don't remember disliking this book, but it's just something that I just don't want on my shelves anymore. I don't ever think about it. I'll never think about it again. Oh, but it's pretty. Look at it. See, should I keep it? No, I shouldn't. If you see any of these books on my shelves in a future video, don't say a word. Don't say a word, just let it go. Okay, Happy Face by Stephen Amond. Stephen. This book's cute. This one's written very interestingly. There's like pictures and everything. It kind of reminds me of a comic book in a way. Like, it's super cool. But this one, I think it was kind of like he was writing the book and this was like his diary or journal. The font in this one looks like handwriting. I'll just read the back of the book. So it says, cute girls dig him. He even has his own fan club, but he wasn't always this awesome. He used to be Mr. Comic Book, a resident of Lonely Land. So when he switched schools, he slapped on a grin and went from big nerd to big shot. Meet Happy Face. This is his story. So he was considered a loner in his past school, and now he's at this new school, and he's pretty much like, I gotta reinvent myself. I gotta be this person that is going to be liked by a lot of people. It is a very cool book. I just don't remember anything from this one. I've always wanted to like switch schools because I was so shy and I could not make friends or anything. So I was like, if I just moved and switched schools, I could be a completely different person. That never would have happened. I would have never been confident enough to do that, but I mean, the idea is nice. Next up, I have Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is, I think this one's the first book. I know there's like interconnected standalones. Let me see. Let me see if there's other books in the back of this that says. There's not. Okay. I know there's other books that relate to some of the characters in this one. I don't remember what I rated this. I think maybe a 2 stars. I don't remember much from this one. I just remember her meeting this guy. I think he's called Red, because he has red hair. Yes, Redford Morgan. He's a handyman with tattoos, a motorcycle, and more sex appeal than 10,000 Hollywood heartthrobs. He's an artist. Oh yeah, and then so Chloe like kind of spies on him because she has this crush on him. She's kind of like getting to know him without even ever talking to him. It's like one of those types of relationships, but I don't remember much. Can't say anything else. I do know that a lot of people like this book though, and like the other books that are connected with this one. If it's something that you would be interested in, I would just give it a shot, but I wasn't the biggest fan. And then lastly, for the books that I have read, I have The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This was a 1-star read for me also. Once again, with this romance, just didn't like the characters or the romance. Just couldn't root for them. I didn't really like the plot of this one either, which is weird. I like enemies to lovers, but I feel like this one really wasn't enemies to lovers. It wasn't like a legit enemies to lovers. It was supposed to be like workplace enemies. I didn't get that vibe from it. I just figured it was they didn't really talk to each other at work, and then that made them think like the other person hates them. I just wasn't a fan of the not actual enemies to lovers. It's so cute though. Look how like tiny it is compared to the other ones. I like the color of it too. But it's not enough to keep it on my shelves. Okay, now I have 3 books that I had on my TBR that I'm not gonna pick up. First one I've had for quite a while now, I think over a year. This is Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. I've read her books before. I've decently liked them. There was one that I did give 5 stars. I gave My Killer Vacation 5 stars. That is my guilty pleasure book. Let's be honest. I know a lot of people hate that book, but I loved it. I want to read this around Valentine's Day, which I could keep it and read it around Valentine's Day, but I just don't have the intention to. I'd rather read something else instead. Even if I do pick it up in the future, I think it's just going to be something that I'm like, I don't really want to be reading this right now, but I just want to get it off of my TBR. And I don't want to feel that way when I'm reading a book. It's just time to get rid of it. This one I think I've had for even longer. This is The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. I've read a lot of books by them too. Well, how many have I read by them? Where are they? I've read 3 books by Christina Lauren, and once again they were alright to me. Wasn't in love with any of them. This one I picked up because it has like a super cool concept. I know that they're trying to figure out your soulmate based on DNA. I'm pretty sure that the guy that she's supposed to be soulmates with based on their DNA, she really doesn't like him, or they seem like complete opposites. It's kind of enemies to lovers maybe. I think this is just their romance, but it's just been sitting on my TBR for too long, and I just am kind of tired of looking at it. Maybe in the future, but as of right now, I just gotta get it off of my TBR cart. This is my very last book. It is A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime by Monica Murphy. I know this is a series. This is not the first book, so I would have to pick up the first book before this one. I don't know if they're interconnected standalones or if you have to read the books in a certain order in order to understand the story and the characters. This was one that I've heard a lot of good things about, but recently I haven't seen too many people liking this. It was a book that I've wanted for a long time, I will say, and then it was finally at Target, so I picked it up. Every time that I would finish a book and I would go to my TBR cart and I would look at this one, I was just like, I don't know why I bought that. I don't think I'm ever gonna read it. Those are my books, and now I need to find someone to give these to. That is it for my unhaul. Now I have my shelves. I have more shelves to build. That video is coming soon. I'm gonna have like a whole bookshelf thing. I have 4 bookshelves that I have to build. They're gonna look very, very sparse. So I do plan on building the 4 that I still need to build and then spreading my books out to make room for all the books that I'll be reading in the future. That's it for my unhaul. Hopefully I don't have another one of these for a while. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video, whatever that may be. I hope you have a good day, good night, morning, and I will see you later. I don't think there will ever be a moment where I have a stack of books and it does not fall over.